Times.
It wouldn't have lasted very long on its own. Yeah.
There was a bridge.
I'll show everybody. I'll let them all do this. Yeah, standing first.
How was the hug?
Actually, very, very nice.
Yeah?
It's a very huggable tree. So just to start with, we'll show you where everything was. So just across from us over here, see those two little red markers over there? That's where the mill was. If you go from those red markers across to the blue one on the other side, that's where the bridge was. And then the 4 orange markers above the ducks on the other side is where the green dragon tavern was, which you can see in the photo. Okay. And the reason they are not here is because this is the stuff they were made out of. Okay, very heavy material. And because they needed so much of this stuff, they took a few $1 million, they went to the South Island, they actually brought a polystyrene factory. Ooh.
That one where whenever they wanted, they could print the stuff out, cut, plaster it, paint it, glue it on. This is actually off the bridge. Because you can see on the side there of the bridge. But you do see Gandalf and Frodo right over it in the film, so you do need a bit more than just this stuff. And that's when they use the scaffolding and plywood. And the reason you can see it is because they never filmed from the opposite side of the bridge, so they didn't need this. But the first person to drive over it wasn't even employed by New Line, it was actually Ian Alexander, and he didn't know he wasn't supposed to. And he happened to be in his work vehicle one day, and he came down the side of the hill and he started crossing the bridge, and he thought everybody on the other side was waving to say hello. And it wasn't until he got the phone call the next morning going, "Don't do that again," he went, "Oh, that wasn't hello." But luckily he made it across, so it turned out to be their best guinea pig. But phew. The mill, they made this in Wellington. They brought it up here overnight, and then by the next day it was over where those 2 red markers are, ready to go. Okay. And the water wheel, it did spin because it had a motor attached to it so it would move. Because the water in the lake dropped off with no rain, so you can see it doesn't quite touch the lake, so they used the motor to make it move. But also, in here, got a lot of hobbits doing what hobbits do best. Not really a lot, eh? Yeah, drinking, yes. Our fat hobbit got still in costume, but just to prove they had cell phones back then. And also we've got Frodo over in this corner. And then in the other photograph, got Peter Jackson, who's a bit skinnier nowadays, and he's currently on his next movie, The Lovely Bones. I don't know if you've heard of that book, but that's the one they're making into a film. And the dude in behind him is Barry Osborne, and these were the 2 people that lived in the neighbour's house while this was all happening. Also, the fence lines that you'll see in the photographs are quite different to what we have out here. See the difference between that fence out there and that? So what they did is they removed all of that fencing, made it look like that, and then they finished, pulled all that out and put this stuff back in again. Okay? And just out here in this paddock, they made it look like that photo. So see how you got lots of little individual fields? And if they wanted, they could either grow crops in them or leave them ploughed up, because you do see hobbits ploughing in the fields in the movie. What crops they would grow were corn or wheat or anything like that. But the main thing they filmed out there, now in the book, it says it takes Sam and Frodo about 4 days to get there. And it was like this life-changing moment for Sam. And in fact, it is so far away, you're going to need to come this way a couple of steps. You should be right about here. So if you all come here for a second, and if you look out the small gap between the poplar trees, out on that ridge, can you see that red marker?
Yeah.
It's on a lane.
Yeah.
Yep, okay. Well, that's where Frodo and Sam get to. Alright, Sam stopped and Frodo said, "What's wrong?" And Sam said if he took one more step, It was pretty much the furthest he'd been from home, and he's actually only about 400 metres from the pub.
About right.
Yeah, because we have two theories. First of all, we know hobbits have short legs, so this in long grass, quite possible. But because they're kind of English, they probably crossed the bridge, spent a couple of days at the pub drinking, and then took another couple of days to get out there.
Fair enough.
Likely. Oh, where does it come from?
The Irish.
The Irish, yeah, true. That was Monday. And next to them was the cornfield, and that's where they run into Merry and Pippin. Remember? When they're running away
Yeah,
from
yeah.
Farmer Maggot, they filmed that out there too. But the two back paddocks, the real green one and the one next to it, it's all part of what they leased, which was 10 acres, but they didn't do any filming in there as such. They let the grass grow, and it would complete the look of the Shire for them. That's all was needed. And you know how you can see loads of sheep around here now? Well, the only time the sheep had to be moved was if they were going to do a landscape shooting and they would be in the road. So they would ring up the Alexanders, say, hey, we're filming out there today. Would you mind moving those sheep? Not a problem. Take them up to the yards for a few hours and bring them back later on. See? And then in the movie you can't even tell it's a sheep farm that you're on. But they were able to carry on farming like normal, even though there were 400 extra people on their property each day. We're up to. Yeah, it is a vast area.
How much did it cost them to just build this thing and complete this 20-minute shot?
20 in the last minute.
Around here, I'm not sure. It would have been a few million, I'd imagine.
Much more than a few
Because
minutes.
because in the end they spent, it was roughly just over about 250 mil per film, roughly something like that for each movie. But we have had a lot of people coming out here dressing up as hobbits. It's not unusual. Okay? But the tallest person was actually from Germany,